depopulated, abandoned, or deserted cities. No matter why they are empty, they always attract those who are fascinated by a good story of mystery and suspense. These places, forgotten by time, carry an almost supernatural magnetism, irresistible to those looking for dark stories full of secrets. Ghost towns around the world are perfect settings for horror films, breathtaking documentaries, or even for the bravest of us who like to explore haunted trails. And we have plenty of examples, from Kolmanskop, a ghost town buried by the sands of the Namibian desert, to Fordlandia, a lost town in the middle of the Amazon in Pará, Brazil. Some of these cities were abandoned by tragic accidents, others succumbed to the passage of time or the collapse of entire empires. But they all have one thing in common. They are monuments to abandonment, marked by silence and emptiness. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to discover one of these enigmas, the mysterious Sunset Town. We'll reveal the secrets this ghost town hides, explore its origins, and discover why it has become one of Vietnam's most bizarre and fascinating destinations. Number 1. Location and geographical data. Before we dive into the mysteries of Sunset Town, let's start with the basics. Knowing where this ghost town is. Our destination is none other than the fabulous island of Phu Quoc in Vietnam, or as many like to call it, the Pearl of Vietnam. This island is so impressive that it seems to have been taken from a painting, one of the most paradisiacal corners of Southeast Asia. And that's no exaggeration. In 2024, it secured second place in the ranking of the most stunning islands on the planet, second only to the Maldives, which, let's face it, is practically the concept of paradise on Earth. With its impressive 574 square kilometers of pure beauty, it is the largest island in Vietnam, almost the size of Singapore. But unlike the futuristic modernity of Singapore, Phu Quoc conquers with its natural landscapes, dense forests, and white sandy beaches that attract tourists from all over the world. But it's not just its size that impresses. This island is surrounded by crystal clear waters and nature that will leave you speechless. For those who want to escape the chaos and reconnect with nature, this is the place. And believe me, this piece of paradise has much more than beautiful scenery. It has a lot of history. Number 2. Fishing Island and Phu Quoc Prison. For many years, Phu Quoc was known for its tranquility. Local families made their living from fishing and producing the famous fish sauce, an indispensable ingredient in Vietnamese cuisine. Everything seemed to run smoothly and peacefully until the Vietnam War completely changed this scenario. With the start of the conflict in 1955, this paradise island was dragged into the center of a strategic dispute, divided between the communist North and the South, supported by the United States. It was in this turbulent context that Phu Quoc Prison, also known as Viet Cong Prison, came into being. Located in the south of the island, this prison became a feared place where prisoners from North Vietnam were held in inhumane conditions. The place soon became a dark symbol of the brutality and horrors that marked the conflicts of that time. Today, what remains of this place is a memorial open to the public, where visitors can learn more about this harsh part of local history. Number 3. How the island became a tourist destination. After all the sadness and turmoil that marked the island's history, Phu Quoc began to attract attention, especially from those who love exploring off-the-beaten-track places, and that's how it gradually made a name for itself. The island's transformation into a true tourist destination began in the early 2000s, when the Vietnamese government decided to invest heavily in the local infrastructure. New roads were built, the airport was expanded, and resorts began springing up all along the coast, attracting a growing influx of visitors. The paradisiacal beaches soon became the main attraction. Long Beach, with its golden sand and crystal-clear waters, stood out as the perfect spot to relax and watch an unforgettable sunset. Starfish Beach, on the other hand, offered a unique experience. There, starfish seemed to float just below the surface of the water, creating a sight that leaves anyone in awe. For the more adventurous, Phu Quoc National Park is a true paradise. Its trails wind through dense forests, past waterfalls, and it's the ideal place for those who want to disconnect from the world and reconnect with nature. The park's biodiversity is jaw-dropping, with species of plants and animals you won't find anywhere else. It was in the midst of this tourist boom that the ambitious idea of Sunset Town was born, a city that would once again put Phu Quoc on the map of the world's most coveted destinations. Number 4. Why was Sunset Town built? The idea behind Sunset Town was simple: to create a destination reminiscent of Mediterranean beaches, but right there in the heart of Vietnam. The perfect setting was already there, and even the town's name was inspired by something iconic: the sunset. You know that much sought-after sunset in Santorini, Greece, where people crowd around to get the best angle? Well, Sunset Town's idea was to create an experience like that, but with an extra touch of refinement and exclusivity. The promise was clear: a place where tourists could stroll leisurely, store in elegant stores, admire architecture that mixes classic and modern styles, and enjoy a stylish cafe by the sea. Well, at least that's what the brochures and promotional websites sell, isn't it? But the truth is much more straightforward: money. The Sunset Town project was a bold move to put Phu Quoc on the luxury tourism map and compete on equal terms with neighboring islands. From the outset, the intention was to turn the island into a hotspot for travelers looking for exclusive experiences and who don't mind spending a lot of money for it. And to bring this ambitious project to life, attractions emerged that promised to become true icons. Number 5. The Kissing Bridge. If there's one thing that stands out in Sunset Town, it's the Kissing Bridge. Inaugurated at the end of 2021, this 800-meter bridge, with its two halves that approach but never touch, was designed by Italian architect Marco Casamonti, inspired by Michelangelo's famous painting, The Creation of Adam. For those who don't know it, this Renaissance masterpiece depicts the moment when God reaches out to Adam, almost touching his fingers, symbolizing the creation of the first man. It's that moment of connection that is about to happen, but has not yet materialized. Just like the fingers in the painting, the two halves of the bridge do not touch. They are 30 centimeters apart. The distance is so small that it allows two people to kiss, even though they are on opposite sides, hence the name. Number 6. The Cable Car. If you thought the bridge was impressive enough, wait until you see the Sunset Town cable car. This cable car redefines what it means to have a panoramic view. An incredible 8 kilometers long, it crosses the ocean, connecting Sunset Town to the island of Hon Tom, another pearl of the island. During the 15-minute crossing, you fly over the sea and the smaller islands, getting a breathtaking view of the whole scenery, with Sunset Town standing out in the background, its colorful buildings and unique architecture. And the most interesting thing, This grandiose project holds the record for the longest three-cable car in the world. But don't think that's all there is to it. Sunset Town still has more surprises up its sleeve. Number 7. Diverse attractions. In addition to the most popular attractions, Sunset Town has also invested in a number of events and venues that haven't always delivered what they promised. One example is the VUI Fest Bazaar, a night market by the sea that seems more like an attempt to turn the place into a tourist spot than a space for genuine interaction. Another highlight is the open-air grandstand, designed to be the stage for major events and concerts. In keeping with the idea of creating sophisticated experiences, Sunset Town has also decided to bring a touch of art and culture to the city. This is how the Sun Signature Gallery came about, a gallery that, together with recreations of the ruins of Pompeii and the Arc de Triomphe, tries to give the place an air of sophistication and glamour. Number 8. Mediterranean architecture. Apart from all the attractions, what really stands out in Sunset Town is the attempt to recreate a little piece of the Mediterranean in the middle of Vietnam. Inspired by the coastal villages of Italy and Spain, the town is full of colorful facades reminiscent of the Amalfi Coast or Taormina. The highlight is the central square, which boasts a bell tower inspired by the iconic St. Mark's Tower in Venice, along with a 75-meter-high clock that looks more like a lighthouse with its eyes turned towards the sea. Everywhere, the European aesthetic is present: cobbled alleys, red-roofed buildings, and that classic style that tries to bring the Mediterranean climate to Southeast Asia. The Italian touch dominates most of the buildings, but Spanish influences are also present. But do you know what all the attractions have in common? They ended up almost empty. Despite heavy investment and the promise of transforming Sunset Town into a trendy center of entertainment and culture, the city is still struggling to attract more than just a few curious tourists. It seems as if the party has been set up, but the guests have yet to arrive. Number 9. An abandoned tourist town. With an estimated investment of more than $16.5 billion, it had all the makings of becoming Asia's biggest hotspot, overtaking places like Pattaya in Thailand, which has practically become a tourist dump full of chaos and confusion. But not everything went to plan, and the city ended up becoming a place with a handful of dripping cats, wandering around a city that seemed made for large crowds. Do you know what it reminds me of? The setting of Ashgabat, the ghostly marble capital of Turkmenistan. A grandiose city, full of imposing buildings, but empty, almost like a theater without an audience. By the way, we have a video on our channel that shows you all about this nation as restricted as North Korea. Did you know, for example, that the president built an entire city out of white marble and banned all black cars in the country? After this video, don't forget to check out the curiosities about Turkmenistan that will blow your mind. Number 10. Why Sunset Town is abandoned. Let's be honest. Sunset Town sank due to a combination of factors. The main one was the absurd cost of maintaining all the infrastructure, coupled with the lack of interest from investors in continuing to pour money into a project that didn't bring a return. Because, let's face it, nobody wants to bankroll an entire city when it fails to attract even remotely the number of tourists they were expecting. To complicate matters further, the COVID-19 pandemic was the death knell for Sunset Town. While the whole world was at home, stuck in lockdown, tourism died for good, and Sunset Town became deserted. But that wasn't all. No matter how much luxury some tourists seek, they want authentic experiences. The concept of creating a luxurious European space in the middle of Vietnam was completely out of tune with what tourists really want when they go to Phu Quoc. They're looking for local culture, authentic nature, and a real Asian vibe, not a fake copy of a European city planted in the middle of the island. Number 11. There are no houses in the city. Another of the city's big reasons for not being as successful as it had hoped is that it was designed to be a park, not a real city. It may sound ridiculous, but that's just it. One of the most curious details about Sunset Town is that there are no residential houses there. The number is 0. No residents. The whole town was designed just to attract tourists, without worrying about providing an infrastructure that would support a local community or even those who wanted to live there permanently. The result? A huge empty park. The few buildings that exist are intended for tourists, but without visitors, it's as if the place were abandoned in the middle of a perfect setting. A beautiful stage without any actors. Number 12. Other Sun Group buildings. But if we look at the whole context, perhaps there are other hidden reasons for Sunset Town's failure. And no, we're not talking about spirits and hauntings. Although, come to think of it, perhaps we could call it a kind of modern haunting, known as corruption and embezzlement in overpriced construction projects. The Sun Group, which is behind this city, has several other developments spread across Vietnam. One of the most famous is the Sun World Ba Na Hills theme park, home to the iconic Golden Bridge, that bridge supported by 2 huge stone hands that seem to hold it up. These projects, unlike Sunset Town, have managed to attract tourists and have become quite popular. However, the Sun Group's story is not all glamour. There are many allegations of corruption involving the company. The group is said to have close links with the government, which would have made it easier for them to obtain valuable land and permits to build their gigantic developments. In other words, once they've spent everything and more and lined their pockets, the work is no longer important, right? These practices have generated controversy and criticism, especially due to the environmental impact and the displacement of local communities to make way for the conglomerate's developments. It's a sad reality that is becoming more and more present in the news around the world. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these facts about Sunset Town surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with the best curiosities and fascinating stories from our bello mundo. That way, you won't miss anything new. For those of you who have watched this far, thank you very much and see you next time.